Welcome to the Arsenal show. We are live. The transfer window is open and Arsenal are not messing around. They are going all guns blazing at the moment. Declan Rice, Romeo, where art thou, Romeo? Hopefully he's going to be at Arsenal soon. We've got news about Thomas Partey potentially leaving. I hope not, personally. And Kai Havertz. We've got to talk about the Kai Havertz deal, the deal that has surprised everyone. But when you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. We're joined by Melvin Marks, Jerome Marks, and Steve K. How is everyone doing?
Fine, mate, very well.
Yeah, quite excited, actually. Quite excited.
Good evening, everybody out there.
All right. And if you're in the comment section, do not be shy. Make sure you get involved as well. Get your comments in, get your questions in for the panel. We've got plenty to talk about over the next hour. First and foremost, this man here, Kai Havertz. There's been a lot of news about him. Arsenal put in bids. 65 million is meant to be the money that's going to get the player. Many people were surprised about this one, but when you really think about it, when you look a little bit deeper at what Kai Havertz can do, it does make sense. Steve, first and foremost, what were your first thoughts when you heard about Kai Havertz?
Yeah, I had to think about it for a little while, and I wasn't too sure about it. We've seen his form at Chelsea, and you know it hasn't been good. But to be fair to Havertz, he hasn't been playing in his proper position at Chelsea. And I think a lot of Chelsea fans will tell you that. But still, he hasn't, pulled up any trees there. But then I started thinking differently. I started thinking about the Kai Havertz that was at Bayer Leverkusen and when he played in his position where he meant to play. And I can remember when he signed for Chelsea, I was massively jealous. I wanted him then. So I'm going to take it from now. And I'm exactly from where you are, Kiers. I feel it makes a lot of sense. The price is good. I can see what Mikel Arteta is thinking. I can see where he's going to play him. I can see where we need help. It seems to me that we need someone who can play, maybe take over from Saka, give him some rest, take off the pressure. He does that. He can play out on that right. It's where he played at Leverkusen quite a bit. And also Jesus, we've also had the conversations and how can we replace Jesus? So he's definitely someone who can do that as well. And I think he's quality player to be able to do that. So yeah, I'm quite excited now by it. I'm on board.
All right. Melvin, what was your first thoughts when you saw Kai Havertz? He's not had the best time at Chelsea. But Mikel Arteta reckons he can rejuvenate this player.
Well, I didn't expect that to come out at all. If you'd have asked me, 20 players that we might sign or mention 10 players we might sign from Chelsea, he may not have been in the top 10. Really a strange one. Listen, perhaps Arteta can do his magic with him and get him playing, take all the pressure off him. He might even smile the new player if he plays for us, because I don't think he's ever smiled since he's been at Chelsea. So
not since he scored that winner in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
But what I'm just worried about is that however good he is, he's not going to be, I don't think, as good as Saka, obviously. And if he's a backup to Saka, you're paying a lot of money for him. And don't we really need a 6'12" centre forward if we're going to spend that type of money? And if it means us not getting another striker instead of Jesus, we haven't got an option 2 again, have we?
Jerome, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that Arsenal can't really consider Havertz as an option for a striker in that case? And do you think, answering the second question, do you think that leaves the door for Eddie to leave if Arsenal do bring in Havertz?
I'm not sure how it affects. If it's going to affect Eddie, I think that can be like a different situation. This Havertz potential deal is one of the strangest deals, I think, because none of us know where he's going to play. Depending on who you've listened to the last few days, some people have even said he could play in the position where Granit Xhaka plays.
No.
And for me, he's a totally different type of player to Xhaka. Like, Xhaka is a midfielder. Havertz is not a midfielder. And I think you need to have a midfielder in that position where Xhaka's been playing. It's good that he can play in different positions, even though we don't know exactly where he will play. It is a lot of money. It's not like it's a fire sale with Chelsea where we're getting him for half the price that they paid. It's not. The end price probably won't be far off what Chelsea paid for him. So it's a bit of a strange one. Again, totally out of the blue. No one at the beginning or when the season ended would have predicted that we'd be going for Havertz, I don't think. But I think the manager obviously sees something in him, and I think he's earned our trust, Arteta. So, you know, happy to see it really. But I do think it's a lot of money to spend. But
on that, it's a lot of money to spend. Melvin, you brought it up first. What if Arsenal need to raise the level of the player that they've got so that there's not as much drop off? How much are you looking to spend on that player that is either competition or, I don't even like to say it, as backup, because I don't think we should be buying backup. That's my fault. I don't think we should be buying backup. I think we should be buying players who can take the spot. Who, if the player drops out, that player comes in, and there's not too much. It might be a different type of player, but there's not too much different drop off in quality. Yeah. What do you think? Us should be spending less in that position, or do you think we should be bringing a backup? What's your thoughts, Melvin?
My thoughts are 65 million is a decent amount of money. It'd be if we're not going for Rice and we buy Havertz, it'd be like our record signing. And you're buying someone that, as Jerome said, we don't even know his position, and we haven't. I think really, I know that scoring goals is not our biggest problem, but it's always nice to have a plan B, because we've been caught a few times this season where we play against a very low team and they do the block, and we just can't do our pretty football around them, and we haven't gotten any. They just do it for the first 10 minutes and they get more confident as the game goes on. I just want to change something differently. But you're right. If we're going to have a player to come on, it can't be a drop in quality. It's got to be one on, one off. Makes no difference. Slightly different style, but at the end of the day, you're going to get the same result with whoever you have on the pitch. You know, we don't want to have these A and B teams like we used to do. You know, A squad and B squad. We mustn't have that. It's got to be all A. It must be all A, and some of them A plus. But there can't be a big difference between the first 11 and the other 8 or 10 that might come in at any stage. And we've had that for too many years. But that will definitely help. If the manager, Arteta, is talking about either keeping Eddie or selling Eddie and giving Balogun a chance, that, all right, I'll go for that, because I know he's not a big striker, Balogun, but he does offer something different to Jesus. And we could play a slightly different game with him, but I'm not sure if he's ready yet. You know, he's done well in the league abroad, but we never know, do we? We don't know. But I would have thought, if with our budget, we must have a budget. Obviously, we've got a budget. If we've got a budget, what we're looking at, where we're looking to improve, the midfield, 100%. A defender, 100%. Centre forward, 100%. Another guy to play across the midfield, I'm not too sure.
All right. Steve, how much would you be? Are you worried about the money that Arsenal potentially spend on Hazard as a what could be called a squad player?
No, not at all. Not at all, because I think we should all be over the moon that we're spending this amount of money on any player, because it sort of tells you where we are at the moment, and it should tell everybody where, you know, our chairman's now wants to take us and where our manager wants to take us. And then if we want to go and spend 65 million for someone who, well, I agree with you, Kieran, is, you know, not we don't want to look at them as a squad player. We want to look at them as someone who is just, you know, part of the 11. And that's what every single, I mean, if you put in a squad of 19 players, every one of those players should be able to come in and play against Man United and Liverpool. And there shouldn't even be a question about it. So paying that type of money for a player like Kai Havertz, I haven't got a problem with it. I'm over the moon that we can do it. I mean, that we can put down that type of money, bring in someone like Kai Havertz, and I like I said like at the beginning, I know what he's done for Chelsea. We know he hasn't hit it off, but let's give him a break. The guy at Bayer Leverkusen was the most wanted player in European football when Real Madrid wanted him, Barcelona wanted him, Man United, they all wanted him, and Chelsea got him because they was the best at the time. So we should look at that and think that our manager Michael Arteta can mould him into something similar again.
And if we look at his time at Leverkusen, you can see his majority of his time was played in an AM centre role. He could also play up front, but a lot of the time he also played on the right wing, and that's both seasons as well. So I personally see it as his main position potentially could be that right wing cover for Saka, also as the up front. I don't see him in number 10 potentially, but we've got players in that position. I don't see him as a midfielder. Maybe if it comes in a game and we're dying to get a goal, they may pull out a defensive player and throw him in midfield, so we've just got another attacking option. Like, it's options. I like the options as well. If we look at, what was it? This one here. Where is it? Play that. It played. No sound. Where's the sound gone? Sound's killing me. This one basically, what it was showing was that Bayer Leverkusen saw Kai Havertz as the next generation after Michael Ballack and Toni Kroos. So it shows that the potential was there, but he's got into a team managed by Frank Lampard in his first season. We definitely can't forget that. Possibly one of the worst managers the Premier League has seen in years. And then there's just unrest. He kind of settles a little bit under Tuchel. Tuchel then goes, and he's managed under two other managers after that. I think we have to look at those things as well. Chelsea is not a style that really suits him. They've kind of stuck him up top straight away. It just hasn't worked. This is just a little bit about his defensive side. On the other side of the ball, you may also have noticed that Kai Havertz gets tons of recoveries, and that's not all. His overall defending quality is high because he hassles opposing players trying to bring the ball out, back and through midfield. It hardly needs mentioning that turnovers in the final third are the most valuable turnovers. You may have also noticed that too. Again, from the right wing, if someone's trying to break out, a fullback's trying to break out, the recovery there, excellent. And a lot of players, a lot of managers are looking for players that defensively are very good. So they're defending from the front as well, which is very, very important at Arsenal, having that high press. So I personally would definitely be giving it a chance. And I think Owens makes a point here. Havertz could be another sign that proves to everyone why you need to trust Arteta, as he knows what he's doing. And it's not necessarily the players that we've wanted or we've even looked at that Arteta and Arsenal brought in, but after we've seen them play, they've shown that they are the right players. So for me, Havertz, again, it did surprise me at first, but when I thought about it, it makes a lot of sense now. Next up, Declan Rice. This is a player who Arsenal have been looking at for a while. Priority number one. 2 bids have gone in today. The second bid have gone in today. That's been rejected. With West Ham wanting a more guaranteed up front and more achievable add-ons. I'm guessing the achievable add-ons, they don't feel that Arsenal are going to win the Champions League and League over the next few seasons, so they want more achievable add-ons. Steve, could you add any more information to that Declan Rice deal?
No, not really. I mean, you said it, most of it there. I mean, as you say, they've turned down a second bid worth up to 90 million. It was 75 million plus 15 million in add-ons, a club record for Arsenal. A club record bid. As I say, the biggest one we had was formerly with with Pepe, so we all know that we're going to break that. Third bid is imminent. That will happen in the next couple of days. No doubts about that. I've been told that West Ham want the 100. They want the 100 million, with at least 90 million paid up front and 10 million in add-ons, and not 15, and paid over a short period. So I feel this is just a matter of time. I wish they'd get it done and hurry up, because it always takes us back to the Madrid thing. But from speaking to people, this is just a matter of time before it's done. Arsenal are not going away. There will be a third bid, and yeah, there's not much between the two clubs now. And I would say it gets, like, in the next couple of days, the third bid will go in, and I wouldn't be surprised if it'd be accepted.
All right. There's a lot of talk about Manchester City sniffing about. They would come in and gazump Arsenal's money and pay it all up straight away. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of reports on this, is there? I mean, they've just asked to be informed, and I think what they mean by that is if, you know, West Ham in the end get so fed up with Arsenal that they say, "Oh, we go away," like similar to what Brighton did, then Man City will step in. I'm sure Pep ain't going to step on Mikel Arteta's toes too much, you know, considering that the relationship that the two's got, and the relationships the clubs have got over the past 10 years, when you think about it, going back to, you know, them having players off of us and us having players off of them. So I think Man City, I'm not worried about Man City. I know a lot of people, I'm not. I think they're just keeping a watchful eye, if you like. I'm sure they've got other things to worry about at the moment with Gundogan and Silva, and apparently they're not far off signing Josko Garvagol. So I'm not worried. I'm pretty confident that this is going to get done.
And they're also looks like they're about to get Mateo Kovacic. Is that something that?
Well, yeah.
Because if you're going to add another central midfield in there, Rodri's in there, Kovacic is in there, Silva's in there. Like, is Declan Rice really looking to add himself into that and get involved in that?
That's a great.
That's
point.
What I thought.
Yeah, no, that's a great point actually. You know, you look at, you know, Man City and you look at Gundogan, you know, who looks like he could possibly leave. If he goes in, Kovacic is very, you know, similar type of player who would just fit into that role instantly. And it's like what we've seen, that deal's literally virtually done. So, yeah, and Man City don't buy like 200 million players, you know, a window. They never do that. And that would what they would have to do to get Garvadol, you know, something like 80, 90, and then they'd have to pay 100 for Rice. Yeah. No, I can't see. No.
And Phillips has just, as Phillips said, I think it was today or yesterday, that he's not going anywhere because just won a treble, and he couldn't really look at himself if he was to leave after 12 months in the
That's
team.
That's a strange one. No, because he never gets a game, does he? But
exactly.
It's a weird one.
Jerome, how much of a statement would it be if Arsenal got Rice? And is there any worry to you that they're going to sort of drag it out too long and West Ham are going to say, get out of it?
I think with Arsenal, there's always a little bit of a worry as every day goes on. But as Steve said, all the sounds are looking quite positive with this one. I mean, you know, we're basically taking West Ham's, you know, main guy. He's as good as single-handedly sort of carried that team for the last couple of seasons. So they're like, from their point of view, they're obviously going to not make it easy for us in terms of negotiating this deal. So, you know, they're well within their rights to do that. But yeah, massive statement from Arsenal, absolutely massive. And you know, hopefully they'll get it over the line. I know we all want it done as soon as possible because we're impatient, but I guess these things take a bit of time, especially with him being, you know, playing in internationals the last week or so. So yeah, hopefully they'll get it done, and hopefully he'll be out on the tour of America, so he can settle in nice and quick, so that when that first game of the season comes, he's all settled and can play.
Melvin, there's a lot of people that are complaining that Arsenal aren't just paying up the £100 million straight away, and they've negotiated with West Ham, and they seem to be going in and lowballing them. Many others will say this is just part of negotiations to see if West Ham will actually budge on the deal. What's your thoughts on it? Do you think that Arsenal should just go in there and just pay the £100 million straight away?
No, not at all. I mean, if they made their first bid of 100 million, who's to say that they never come back 110? And also, lowball, Kieran, it's when your first bid is, say, 80 million, I mean, it ain't too shabby, is it? It's like
No.
a big 40 million for him and going, you know what I mean? It's Blue Cross Day. It's none of those, is it? They've got in 80 million. And that's
Not pulling out coupons.
No, exactly. I mean, it's a decent bid. And you've got to play the game. If you can get something a bit cheaper, whether it's in Tesco's or 10 million off a player, you're going to do it. And why shouldn't you? If you think the player wants to join you, if you think the player likes your football you're playing, if you think the area that the club's based in is an area like they live in, if you know that he's got a relationship with certain Arsenal players, you use that to your advantage. And why you've got to be stupid not to? I mean, we've done some stupid things over the years, let's face it. So I think had we gone in for 100 million, we might be sitting here and thinking the same thing. Oh, look, low ball, only 100 million, because they won 120. So no, I think they've done the right thing, Arsenal. I'll tell you what, going back to your first point, Kieran, if we do get him, it's not only a big statement, it's irrespective of the big statement, it makes so much difference to the way we play. And our defence will be a much better unit because of him, because he'll just cover them so well. That's what he does. And I think, like I said, we need to spend a bit of money on certain areas, but if we get him, I think we can afford to just chill out a little bit with more defenders. I think he does a double job, this geezer. I think he controls the midfield, controls the flow, and he actually is one. We have done a player for years to do the proper job of protecting the back four. So, if we get him, it's unbelievable. Yeah. I know that we expect it now. And if we get him, we go, well, I told you so. No. If we get him, I'll be very, very excited, honestly.
100%, same here. Steve, just on what Melvin's saying, how would you like to see Rice deployed in the Arsenal team?
I don't know. We've seen him at defensive midfield playing for England. We've seen him at DM playing for West Ham, and he absolutely... most games he absolutely runs the show. He can play in two positions, can't he? He's one of the best DMs in the country, if not in Europe, and he's also very good in the number 8 position. He can play there, but he's been deployed for England mostly because of Jude Bellingham, and mostly for West Ham because basically they needed him to sort of protect the defence against them. But at Arsenal, I feel he could be playing in the number 8 or the 6, whatever one. I think last week that he has come out and said that he wants to play further forward in his career. So does it surprise? Will he play in the number 8 position? I think the way Arsenal play, it gives it gives them sort of, he can roam, can't he? Even though he's number 6, he can move forward. I think he's an upgrade on Thomas Partey. As much as I love Thomas Partey, he's a lot more mobile. And I think looking at other players, that we're linked with, it seems to me he's going to play in the 6, but he could play in the. I mean, I can't wait. I mean, it's so exciting. It's like we've already said. This is a massive statement, for the season and for where Arsenal are going to go. If we get him, which I'm sure we will, it's going to be. I think that it's going to make all the the other teams around us just sort of look up. It's just going to take us to that extra level. But it's 6 or 8. I'm still a little bit undecided because of what he said. We'll have to see.
Jerome, how would you like to see him deployed?
The 8, like where Xhaka plays, it's a bit unknown, isn't it? Because we've never really seen him play there. He's only really played just in front of the defence, so it'd be more interesting to see him play there. because you know what you're getting if you play 6. Just something else I wanted to add is that when you sign a player like Rice, a bit like when Saka has extended his contract, what that does, I think, in addition to having Saka in the team, with all that he gives you, I think having this like Saka and a Rice, that will attract other players. Other players will want to join a team because they want to play with Rice. They want to play with Bukayo Saka. So I think that's just another element to it as well.
Yeah, very, very true. I think there's a lot could be said about the fact that Rice is very good friends with a few of the Arsenal players. He wants to live in London still. And if we add the fact that what we spoke about with the Man City, you can. I agree with Melvin. You can see why Arsenal have gone in with a little less. It's not a low ball. It's a little less than the actual fee that they're demanding. So you have to. It's part of negotiations. If Arsenal can't act like Chelsea and just go in flying in with silly money, and it's not how business works. It's not how business works. Hopefully, Havertz can prove me wrong as well. I would rather Casado and Rice as a priority, but I'm a lift engineer and I don't pick the team. No, you don't. Good thing. If we sell Partey, are we looking to get another midfielder as well as Rice, or more midfielders as well as Rice? Yes, we are. While you're asking, I might as well go on to the Thomas Partey story while we're there anyway. Arsenal and Thomas Partey's representatives are both working on potential exit solutions for the midfielder. There's interest in the 30-year-old from clubs in Saudi Arabia, and Arsenal will consider their options if suitable opportunities arise for a sale. The situation is not believed to be advancing rapidly, and if Partey, whose contract runs until 2025, wants to leave the Emirates, then a replacement would be needed in addition to the pursuit of Declan Rice. So Arsenal are not leaving themselves short there. This is purely if the opportunity arises to sell Thomas Partey. He's got, 2 years left in his contract. So it kind of makes a little bit of sense. He's 30 years of age. Personally, I'd keep Partey. But if Arsenal do keep Partey, it would mean signing him onto another deal. Steve, Thomas Partey. A few stories popping up recently. Is it a surprise that Arsenal could potentially be losing Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka all in the same summer?
Yeah, big surprise. I mean, it was a big surprise that Granit Xhaka was going. It's a big surprise. You know, we've learnt the news that, just before we came on air tonight, that in the next couple of days, Thomas Partey's in talks with a team in Saudi Arabia. So things were a little bit more advanced and ahead than personally what I thought. I thought we was going to have to wait a little while or see what happens before other players came in, similar to you, Kieran. But apparently in the next couple of days, he's talking to this Saudi club. So, and that's from Fabrizio. So it seems to me that looks like Thomas is on his way, which to me is a massive surprise. I've may be controversial. I don't think if I was Mikel Arteta, I would look at the beginning of the end of the season. I was looking at it that I felt that we needed better than Thomas Partey in our midfield to go that next step above Manchester City. Did I want Thomas Partey to leave? No. I wanted him to be part of the squad. That's shocked me. But I did feel that we needed someone with more legs, younger, quicker, stronger in there. And I'm not putting down Thomas Partey. I know what he's done. He's been fantastic. So, and my idea was, wow, we can bring someone in better than Partey and have him as our backup. That's perfect. That's perfect what I want. Now, Arteta's obviously seen that as well. He's seen that he needs more than Thomas Partey. But it's shocking me that he seems to be more sort of leaning towards letting him go completely. And that's a massive shock. We'll talk about other players later. But as I said, just to sort of round it off quickly and shortly, I'm not so surprised this is happening, or that he's moving on. but I would have liked to have seen him been part of the squad. That shocks me a little bit.
Melvin, are you surprised that Arsenal potentially losing two of their main midfielders in the same summer and starting fresh?
No, not at all. I think Xhaka was not always, was more likely to happen of his age, and what we told about his wife wants to move. That's not, and also I think last season he was absolutely superb, and I think perhaps the management thought that if it wasn't his own decision, that could have been his peak. He'd never played like that, and all the seasons we had him, that was the best season he's ever had by a long way. So I'm not surprised that we're happy to let him go and get money for him. With Partey, I've got to say, he's one of the finest players I've seen. But, and there is a but, the last 2 seasons, at the end of the season, he's run out of petrol.
Yeah, yes.
And I think that we haven't got a good enough squad where we can use him sparingly, because when he's on form, there is no finer player in the league, in my opinion. He's fantastic. In fact, I would go as much to say that I wouldn't be, well, it won't going to happen, but a team like Manchester City could really do with someone like that, because he wouldn't play every week. He'd play 50, 60, 70% of the matches, and he would flit in and out, and he's like a Rolls Royce when he plays. And can you imagine with the other Man City players around him, the first touch, the movement, the changing direction of the ball, the way that Man City do it, and the way Partey does it. So, and I think 30 is not the worst thing in the world. The way he plays the game, I think he can play another 3-4 years at the top level, but not with Arsenal, because we use him too much. It's a shame, because when he's on his game, there is no finer player. Having said that, I think that when he's on his game is when we're winning. I think that I've seen games where we've been all over a team and he has been unbelievable. When we're suddenly against it, he goes, not hiding, but he starts to make a few little mistakes. He's a bit slower to the ball. And that's when you want the quality players to come to the front. And I don't think he does that. But I'm so glad we bought him. I've got a lot of pleasure watching him.
Yeah.
All right. Fair comments there. Jerome, what's your thoughts on the situation? Would you like to see Partey stay? Do you think it is time to move on? Melvin makes some good points about running out of steam at the end of the season. What's your thoughts?
I'm a massive fan of Partey. I think if we could manage him properly in terms of his minutes, then I think that would make a big difference. I don't want to see him go, and I think that position that he's played in is so difficult. There's not a lot of players in the league that can play that position to that high standard. But the only way really I can make my peace with it is if they sell him for silly money. If they sell him for something like what we bought him for, then okay. If we're going to sell him for 10 or 15 million, then for me it's not worth it. That's why with the links to Saudi Arabia and the type of money they're throwing around, you're thinking that maybe they will, they'll put a big bid in, because if Arsenal are going to sell him for 10 to 15 million, it's not worth getting rid of him. He's too good to get rid of for that little amount of money. Yeah, he's not the best in terms of fitness. Yeah, he did go off the boil a bit at the end of the season, but we wouldn't have finished second in the league without him. No, not a chance in hell. He was incredible for us. So,
do you think that Arsenal should manage him better and keep him?
Yeah, like what my dad said. I think that we haven't really been able to rest him, because the backups. You can have a case about Jorginho perhaps towards the end of the season, but really, if you rest Partey, you're a little bit panicked because of what's in reserve behind him. So if you sign a top draw centre midfielder that's going to play in that position as well, then you could manage the minutes. But yeah, if you're going to put him through 38 league games and then the Champions League as well, his body isn't going to be able to handle it. Not to forget to mention that he could also do a job at right back as well for you. So yeah, like I said, get a lot of money for him, okay, but to sell him for little amount, not for me.
Oh, one of the names that's been going about is 19-year-old Romeo Lavea, formerly of Manchester City, another player that Manchester City have brought through their ranks. mostly deployed as a defensive midfield player, tenacious, good footwork, dribbling, very, very much in the style of Thomas Partey, where he just likes to use his quick feet to get out of situations, isn't worried about dropping skills if and when needed. Steve, an exciting prospect, but only 19 years of age. Is that little bit of a worry to come into the Arsenal team where he could potentially be taken over at Thomas Partey's spot if Thomas Partey was to leave?
No. I love this player. I absolutely love him. When I see his name pop up that we was in advanced talks with him, I was like, yes, wow, because I'd see him being linked to United and Liverpool and all that, and I hadn't really thought about him at Arsenal. But as soon as Arsenal's name come up, I think this kid's the real deal. I will say, I just hope we buy him. I know you're right. He's only 19, but I think when he played against Arsenal at the Emirates, he nearly destroyed us at times. You're absolutely right. His touch, he's quick, he's powerful, he's strong, he's a unit. He's not 19. He doesn't play like a 19-year-old. For me, I would go far and say that he would be better than Thomas Partey in a few years. For what I've seen, which isn't much, but for what I have seen, at 19, if he carries on the trajectory that he's going on, this kid will be something very, very special, and I really hope he's got the lot. There's nothing he isn't good at. He's the way he gets around that pick, when he's played, especially in the DM, he's just so quick, so far. You'd expect that at 19. Strong in the tackle, powerful, and you think, wow, 19 years old, what's he going to be like in 2 years' time? And I'm sure that's what Mikel Arteta's thinking. Thomas Partey, we just spoke about Thomas Partey, and there was a lot of buts in there. And we can't have buts, ifs, and if we can, and if he stays fit, and we can't. If we're going next year to go and try and win the title and get past City, we can't do that. He's 30 years old, and as much as I love him, and when they come up, it's straight away. I thought, now I get the Partey thing a little bit. But he's 19. He played for Southampton. He's obviously going up to a new level. But from what I've seen of him, very, very, very special.
And 40 million, do you think that's a fair price?
I haven't heard. Well, 40 million, is that what they're saying?
40 to 50 million I'm seeing banded about.
Yeah, that sounds a lot. That does sound a lot. But again, like we was talking about the Havertz, I mean, if Arteta thinks he's worth that money, then who cares? Go and pay the money. Because every single club seems to be after him. It's not just Arsenal, and we seem to be the one again who's got a head in there. And look, we're in advanced talks with him. So let's see what happens.
Melvin, another young player that Arsenal have identified as a potential future star. Is this the kind of signing that Arsenal should be making as like a protege to Partey, a backup to Rice? What's your thoughts?
It'd be, if the world was perfect, I mean, he'd be the ideal player if we could bring him in to play with Partey. I mean, Partey will play a few games, you can bring him in, then come out again. To him to learn the trade in the Arsenal first team. And give it a year or two playing in the same team, same squad as Partey. You might even play with him in a couple of games. It might be perfect for Arsenal. He might learn a bit from the Arsenal players as well. And when he's ready in a couple of years' time, like Steve said, all of a sudden you've got yourself an absolute diamond in midfield. And he's 21 years old, and you ain't going to be able to buy a player like that. The way the football's going, the way the transfer windows go in the last couple of years, and how it's going to go in the next 2 or 3 seasons, it's going to explode, isn't it? All the big money. It's not, we're talking about paying 45 million for a 19-year-old. right? I mean, who would have thought that? We're paying 65 million allegedly for a guy that may not be in the first 11. Probably will at some stage, but not straight away. We're talking about paying £100 million football. I mean, this is madness. It's madness. It might be right going forward, Kieran, but it sounds it's madness.
Yeah,
and
when
so
you put
can
it
you
like
imagine when the Newcastles get their checkbook out, when the Man Cities all of a sudden find some more oil, and all the Man United get taken over, and clubs like that, and the Chelsea, the American guy, realises what football's all about and how he should do it. It's going to be frightening. And I said the other day that it could be so bad that if Man City and the likes, they could stop Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool, and clubs like that from buying any decent players, because they can just outbid them and say, I'll have $500 million then. We'll give you $500 million, go away. I know you want to live in London. What about $500 million and you get 10 for that a year? You know, it could be that silly, because it's for these clubs, it's marks on paper. It ain't real money. It doesn't matter whether it's on the trading year, it's minus 25 million or 250 million or whatever it is. It's irrelevant. It's just marks on paper. So if we're going to get someone for 45 million like him, and I've been an expert at this kid for the last 24 hours now. You know what I mean? So I know a lot about him, and what I've seen, I've liked. That doesn't always make it right on YouTube. I know, but as Steve said, if I saw him at the Emirates, but my eyes weren't on him, I was cringing too much of how rather than watching the other players. I mean, I'd like to watch that game back, because Jerome said he did have a really good game. Terrific game. So I'd love to do a bit of that. But I just think that if it's come, this is the last chance we might have of buying tip-top players for okayish money, which sounds dear now, but in 2-3 years' time could be an
that's a great point.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask you, Jerome. With the likes of Manchester City, Chelsea with Todd Bowley just crazy spending money, Newcastle with the oil money, and potentially Manchester United soon with the oil money. Is it smart that Arsenal are going in and buying these players, striking while the iron's hot, while they just come second in the league and they're looking like a team going up? Is it smart that Arsenal just forget too much about what they're spending now, because 40 million on a 19-year-old now is nothing, when in 2 years' time we could be spending the kind of money we're talking about Caicedo and Mudryk.
Yeah, that's right. And not only getting in early, it's that if we do make these, say, four or five signings this summer, I mean, moving forward, we won't need to make so many wholesale changes in the transfer windows, because our squad, if you look at our squad, we'd be pretty much covered. Like, so you might make maybe 1 or 2 a year as opposed to 4 or 5. So you're spending the money now, and moving forward, you won't have to spend 200, 300 million in a transfer window, because you just won't need to. And the players that we've got, I think I saw somewhere earlier, we've got one of the most valuable squads, I think, in Europe in terms of how much our players are worth in the transfer market. So we'll always be able to raise money from player sales now, because the players are so valuable. So, 40, 50 million for a 19-year-old does seem a lot, but it's in inflation, isn't it? And moving forward, you won't get much change out of 100 million, it seems.
Yeah, 100%. Steve, just on the same thing, do you think it's smart to get these players in now? Because we've seen Caicedo was only bought for about 10, 15 mil from Brighton. They're now demanding 70, 80. Mudryk came through the ranks in Ukraine. He's gone for 90. The player Enzo Fernandez, only played half a season in Benfica. He got sold for 106. 40 million doesn't seem that much when you're talking about a player was shined in a club that got relegated.
Yeah, I mean, what it is as well. It's all about timing, isn't it? You know, timing paying the right money at the right time when the right players are available. And if you look at the situation now, you look at the transfer window, you look at what players are sort of looking to move, which players are coming towards like the end of their contracts and want to get out. This is the perfect window to not only sort of pay the higher stakes if you have to. But just to take advantage, and also the young players as well that you can pick up for the 40, 30, 35 millions or whatever. I think Arsenal are timing this brilliantly. I think their absolute timing is fantastic. 40 million, what is it? I mean, is it a lot of money of someone who's going to be worth 80 probably in 2-3 years' time? You've only got to look at our own players. When you look at Saka and Martinelli and Odegaard and Saliba, what are they going to be worth in 2-3 years' time? So if you guide our own players on what they're going to be worth, that's what other players are going to be worth as well from other teams that you're going to want to come in. So you've got to have to sort of, create that sort of spending, maybe through at the players that we love. But at this particular time, this is the time not to worry about the money, because the 40s, the 50s, the 100s. Next season, you're going to, or even January, they're going to be doubling it. You're going to have to pay double the price. So it's important. It's one of those windows now where there's this sort of, bunch of certain players that can take certain teams, ahead, for the next 5-6 years. And with Arsenal, the way I feel is that we've sort of hit it just at the right button at the right time, because we're at a situation now where we are looked upon as one of the club to sort of challenge Man City next year. So there's going to be players out there who are going to say, I want to play for Arsenal. I want to come to Arsenal because they're in this position. Next year, they're going to be in the Champions League. You don't know, if we never bought any players this year or never paid them money and lost them to other teams, you don't know where Arsenal are going to be. This is so important now to not worry about money and get these players in ASAP. And Arteta knows that. And that's why you're seeing this influx of transfers and these advanced talks and these bids going in left, right and centre. And it's great. It's great to be an Arsenal fan right now.
It certainly is. Another player who's potentially on the list, and Arsenal are in talks with Ajax over this one, is Jurrien Timber, a player that Manchester United were looking at last season, could be deployed as a centre-back, right back and a defensive midfield even. When he was spoken to press, he was speaking to Dutch outlet Ziggy Sport earlier this season over a potential move. Timber stated he would judge any potential move away from Ajax for 3 separate criteria. For me, it's the same situation as last season. If I'm leaving, it has to be the playing style, which is important. Playing minutes and participating in the prizes, i.e. winning trophies, is important. A very good player, Jurrien Timber. Most of the time, he's played all this season. He's been actually played at centre back. He's not very tall at all. Steve, what's your thoughts on Jurrien Timber? A versatile player, very highly regarded in Holland. Excited about this? What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, really excited. I mean, this is the exact player who I was just sort of talking about. Now, this is a player that is wanted by Liverpool, by Manchester United. Last summer you was hearing with 60 million, 70 millions Ajax wanted for Jurrien Timber. We was trying to get Man United to pay these ridiculous prices. And now we've put in a bid for, an opening bid for 30 million. I mean, Ajax want 50, but from what I'm hearing, they both parties feel that, there's a deal to be done and personal terms have been agreed. So this is one that's I'm really excited about. I think I haven't seen much of him, to be honest with you. From what I have seen of him, he seems to be a player who could fit perfectly into the Arsenal role. Very Saliba-ish, in sort of the way he moves, the way he plays the ball. Very good passer of the ball. Very good at reading play. Dutch international. And again, it's unbelievable, really, because again, it's again with bids have gone in, personal terms agreed, and Jurrien Timber. I just hope this deal don't collapse. Boom, boom.
Very good, very good, very good. Took me a second there. I know you had that written down. I'll give you that. Okay. 100%.
I
All
didn't
right.
get down, but I had it planned.
Melvin, he only stands at 5'8". Pretty much like the Sandro Martinez at Man United, who had a very good season. Would that worry you, or would you see him more as a right back?
I think it would worry me, and I'd prefer him at right back if he's that good. We do need cover at right back, and I've actually said this before. He had a brilliant season, White, absolutely brilliant. But I thought in certain games he was found wanting as a right back, not as a footballer, as a right against Newcastle away, which was a great team performance. All their danger seemed to me to come from that side, and they got round him a few times. So that's not the only game it happened. I think I'd rather, if you're going to buy someone like that, then you play Ben White more times at centre half when needed, rather than playing right back all the time. We might have to change you don't know. Arteta might want to change our formation. You might think, no, now I've got these players, I can actually move it around a little bit. We might play with 3 at the back and have this guy playing as a wing back. You don't know. So I think it'd be a great addition to the squad. Mm-hmm. He's an international, Dutch international. You can't be too shabby being a Dutch international. And he's got a great record. So yeah, I'm very happy to have someone like that. It's like an unknown for me, because it really is unknown for me, to be honest with you. It's like a Tommy Mark II, getting a really good fullback that I don't really know much about. And Tommy, apart from his injuries, I thought he was a terrific signing. Take the injuries out of his game, and he was absolute quality. And that's why a couple of times when he did come back after the injury, his performance dipped, because he wasn't 100%. But for me, it seemed at the time, and it did go for until he got injured, it was a fantastic signing. Yeah. So for a signing like this, is good for the squad and good for the team.
Yeah, if you are regular to the show, make sure you press that like button. And if you are new to the show, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Quickly on Owen, he said, what about Gundogan? Where's he likely to end up? As I'd love him at Arsenal for a few seasons. He looks like he's going to Barcelona, mate, or Manchester City are trying to keep him there. He ain't going to Arsenal. Jerome. Jurriën Timber, only 5'8". Is it a worry having him as a centre back? He only played centre back last season, but he can play in multiple different positions.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play centre back for us. I think he's coming to be another right back. Unfortunately, we're going to be losing Cedric, it seems.
Oh no, Cedric Henshaka. Yeah, my life's over.
So Cedric and Holding, obviously they haven't got long-term futures, so you need someone that can come in, and this guy seems great because, like my dad said, Ben White probably is a good option at centre-back, and then you've got basically centre-back, right-back and left-back, you'll have tons of options. That apart from possibly Gabriel and Saliba, all the others can play in like multiple positions. So like the depth of quality is going to be a lot better now with this guy. So yeah, because I know when there were times last season when we weren't sure who was going to play right back. At some point, we were trying to think of like outside of the box people, perhaps. But I think if you sign this guy, you've then got Tomiyasu, Ben White, and then Timber as 3 very, very good right back options. And then loads of centre backs, and left. Tommy plays left back as well, Zinchenko and Kirill. So it's great for squad depth.
Yeah, I agree with Melvin. Nothing against Ben White because he's been outstanding playing at right back, but there were some games where, a little bit like Zinchenko, you needed an out-and-out fullback, not someone who's inverted, not someone who's a centre-back that can play and spray balls and play a different type. You needed someone just to bomb down the wing with pace and cross it in, drill it in low or whatever, just mix it about. But when Ben White's not that sort of player, and you can't ask him to do something that he's not capable of doing. Steve, with the likes of Timber being touted, Lavea being touted, do you think this ends the interest in Caicedo, considering Caicedo would probably be the centre midfielder who can also play at right back?
Yeah, I think so. It seems to me from what I'm hearing is, like I said last week, it just seems to be about a money thing, and you know, it. I don't know. I think I've been told like recently that you know, there've been problems with his agents and stuff like that, and that it's all about commission and money because, you know, Arsenal were in a situation where they just felt they had a deal agreed in January because he was on his way to Arsenal in January, and Arsenal just felt that, you know, they was going to come to him in the summer. There wasn't much more to go ahead, but Chelsea came in, started flashing the cash, started flashing the money. The agent started doing, you know, seeing eyes, money bags in front of his eyes, and yeah, it turned his head. And now, for some reason, he wants to play not in the Champions League next season, and in a team that probably won't even get in the Champions League next season. So, yeah, some people try to tell me it's not money motivated. You know, get out of here. You know, it's got to be money motivated. It's ridiculous, absolutely. You know, and I tell you what. I don't want him at my club, to be honest with you. He's absolutely peeing me off a bit, actually. I don't want someone with that type of thinking at my club. And I think that's why Arsenal pulled out, because they just think that we don't want you. If you've got the money bags in front of your eyes, you have to want to play for Arsenal, like Melvin said last week. You have to want to play. So on your bike, and Arsenal pulled out. That tells you a lot.
100%. Melvin, do you think that's a fair point? If Caicedo's agents are looking at money, do you think that Arsenal should just back out, or do you think they should try and take Chelsea on, and say, look, we'll offer you more?
Number one, we can't take Chelsea on when it comes to money, so forget about that. And I think that if we've got plan B with Romeo, I think that is a fair. No, he may not be up to his standards yet, but I think if he makes that improvement, he could be just as good, if not better. So, and it's, you know, it's less than half price, and it's someone, if he comes to us, proves that he wants to play for us, and that's a big thing. You want that, and you don't want a player playing for you. And I'm not going to go at the player Caicedo, because he might join with good intentions, but if he's got this agent in his ear the whole time, that's not good. We don't need that. So it may not be the worst plan B in the world to get Romeo Lavia at all. So I think that he's had his chance. We've had our chance. He's had his chance. Let's move on, because we may not be that worse off now.
Jerome, how would you play it? Would you go for Lavia, or would you stick for Caicedo and try and press with that deal?
My preference would be Caicedo, because I think at the moment he's the better player, especially if Partey leaves. But you know, when you're competing with Chelsea, you're always facing an uphill battle. So I think you don't want to take a risk of like missing out on both of them. If they are both targets, I think if you can get one of them, go for it and don't hang about, basically. My preference would definitely be Caicedo, but that might be a bit unrealistic.
Right. Johnny says, judging by the amount of talented links that are being put out there, does the panel think the board are actually going to spend 200 plus million, or is it just agents linking us with everyone? I'd say that if you look at the stories, they actually got some weight to it. There's not too many stories that I've seen out there where it's a bit wishy-washy, might get, like the look I've looked at last season. It all seems to be in negotiations. But Steve, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, mate. These are stories, and they're not like, they're interested or they're monitoring or things like that, where, you know, you have to sort of think, nothing's really happening. You know, players, managers, clubs, you know, if they want a right back, they monitor like 10 players in that position. So, you know, it's probably true what you're hearing. That's what happens. But you're right, with all these players that we've spoken about tonight, every single one of them is from very, 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 you know, trusted sources or transfer experts have said all these are personal terms agreed. Everything's been done as far as the player goes. So, you know, Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, Timber. I'm not too sure about Romeo Lavia, whether the personal terms agree with that, but I wouldn't have thought it'd be a problem. But all the others, they're all done. They're all it is now is they're just, and bids have gone in. Solid bids have gone in for all these players. So it's not just stories. It looks like Arsenal want to get their business done early. I've heard they want to get everything done by July the 19th, which is when Arsenal fly out for pre-season to Washington. So I expect all these to get tied up. And just to answer the question, for me, every single one of these is, stands up and is solid. And I think they'll happen. I think they'll all happen.
All right, just before I go to you, Mervyn, it'll be cool seeing Arteta go out with his new signings. He's worked so hard to convince us all of his vision. Mervyn, are you worried that Arsenal are going to be spending potentially 200 plus million on all these players, or is it just part and parcel of what football is now?
No, I'm not worried at all. I'll tell you why. Because for the first time forever, we can actually, if we need be, it looks like we will, be able to raise a decent amount of that in selling players. Potentially if Balogun going, you're talking about 35 million there. Eddie, I'm not saying he will, I'm just saying potentially there might be 15, 20 million there. There could be Partey we spoke about earlier. There could be the Saudi Arabia, 45 million there. So all of a sudden, it's going down to nearly 100 million. So we're not spending 200 million out of our back pocket and it's going. It could be far, far less than that. And I haven't mentioned Holding. Someone will be, he's worth 15 million. He ain't worth 15 million to Arsenal necessarily, I don't think, because I don't particularly think that the way we're playing it, we need him in our squad, because if he's in our squad, he'll play for us. So we get a few quid for that. There's other ones I've probably forgotten about as well that we could raise money, or thinking about.
Xhaka in it as well.
Xhaka, talking about another 15 million. So all of a sudden, you're talking about I know it doesn't all go out and all come out at the same time because it's over a period of time. You're talking about a net spend of something like 80 million. If you can improve the squad to that level for 80 million, it's a no-brainer in my opinion. I'm not worried at all, Kieran.
I do think you're right, Mel. What you said about, I think one of Balogun or Nketiah will go. I think they will. Little rumblings. I don't know who though.
Jerome, worried about this 200 million potential spending, or is this is what we've got to do to keep up, to push forward and hopefully win some trophies?
Yeah, it's needed, unless you've got the most incredible scouts working for you. Yeah, you're going to have to spend the money, and we could easily raise 100 million in sales, like quite easily. So yeah. No, not worried at all.
All right, let's go to a couple of questions before we sign off. This one from Owen. Steve, is it likely that KT will stay now? I hope he does. He's another great option.
Well, I spoke to probably the biggest name in Arsenal's Arsenal transfers today, and at the moment there's nothing linking us to any left back. For Tierney to go, a left back would have to come in. That there's no doubt about that. And from what everybody's saying, from what I'm hearing, there's no left back coming. So look, Kieran Tierney, his contract runs out in 2026. I feel that if Arsenal do let him go, then it will have to be for a premium price. You're talking 35, 40 million, without any shadow of a doubt. And then you have to buy someone to replace him. So it doesn't make sense to me at this moment in time. And from people I talk to very close to Arsenal, it doesn't make sense to them either. And they're not hearing anything at the moment. Whether he will go, whether something can happen later in the window, I don't know. But if you look at it from an Arsenal team point of view, yes, like Melvin said, there are plans to play three at the back next season. We see him experiment at the end of last season. But he will also want to, that to me, that fits in with Tierney, because Tierney's more of a defence, can play more in defence than Zinchenko. So when you're switching to that, he would fit into that role better probably than what Zinchenko would on that left-hand side. I'd certainly rather have Tierney as a left-sided player of that back three rather than Zinchenko and Kior. But again, it's no links to left backs. We will want 35, 40 million. He's on a contract till 2026. He's had his photo done with a new kit. So come on. We have to be positive, don't we? So hopefully he'll stay. But, still a long way to go in the window.
And I think I did see something that said he's more likely to stay now. Talks are progressing. So hopefully that is true. And because I think we're all fans of Tierney. Johnny says, is anyone else as concerned as I am about Zinchenko defensively? Melvin, what's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I am all season. I mean, as a footballer, a fantastic footballer, but he's not a left back. As Steve said, he's not a true left back. And I think against Liverpool away, that showed up. And it was a disaster waiting to happen. And it happened. I was watching it. I'm thinking no, because they were getting a lot down the right-hand side. And had you brought Tierney on, I think we might have nicked the win. We should have nicked the win because they were all over us. But I felt we'd have been more confident. And it just was a bit unlucky, Zinchenko, when it went through his legs and they crossed it for the goal. I mean, that just summed it up. But no, defensively, he is wanting. I think on that left-hand side, if anyone can isolate him, if the team isolates him, he struggles. He hasn't got the know-how of a proper left-back of how to make up that difference if you're isolated, whereas other left-backs do. So, yeah, I think, but as a footballer, I mean, he's terrific. I love watching him play. He just darts through. He shouldn't have a number on his back. Let him play anywhere.
Russ says, I'd sell Eddie and Balogun and get Vlahovic. Jerome,
Russ.
Jerome, would you sell Eddie?
Russ.
Would you sell Eddie and Balogun?
Yeah.
And bring in another player?
I'd sell both of them. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I've watched Vlahovic a bit, and I think overrated. I think we might have dodged a bullet with that one, especially for the amount of money we were going to spend. Yeah, I'm not a fan of his. I don't think he's got a big name, hasn't he? He's got you think of him, you think, oh, that's a quality player, but nah, I don't think he'd be right in our team. He's basically, for me, what he's like a bit of a not very mobile target man, and I'm not sure about him, honestly. For silly money that we were going to spend on him, not for me.
All right. And the last one. Arsenal finally had a starting 11 to compete in the Premier League. 200 million isn't enough, but will get them close to one of that compete on all four fronts. Next window, probably summer, will get us there. Steve, do you think it will be this window that we can be able to compete if we do bring in those players that are on that list? Or do you think it'll be another window we need to really push through and compete with the likes of Man City and do well in the Champions League?
No, I don't know about the Champions League. I mean, that's a little bit of a lottery. Still, who knows who you draw? Will you finish first or second? I'm not too sure. But as far as the Premier League goes, I think we're going for it this season. I think Arteta is going to get players to go and win the Premier League this season, and he's giving me more and more confidence as the window sort of progresses with the way he's attacking the window early on with these big names to get in. He's serious. He's really serious. With the money again, it's like I said, I don't really feel. I mean, at the moment we're looking at what we're looking at. We're looking at Declan Rice 100 million. We're looking at Kai Havertz, say 55. We're looking at Timber, say 35. Say we're nearly 200 there. Through Latvia, say 250. Say 250. We're bringing in all those four players. So, and then we've got to take off the players that Melvin said. So, if you're looking at 250, and then you're taking off the Xhaka, you're taking off the parties, and the other ones that possibly Balagons. You do the 100 million there. So I think what we're doing. I think he's got it in order. I think that amount of money is perfect. Once we've sold a few players on, but we've got to be careful not to sell too many on, because we do need a squad as well. But no, I mean I think we're looking good for next season. I think he's he's doing all the right things. And we got to remember Edu as well, Richard Garlick. It looks like finally since the Wenger days, Arsenal, really mean business, and it's fantastic.
Melvin, do you think with the players that we're being linked with, we're trying to push through with, we can have another season like we did this season, but potentially even more in the cup?
Yeah, I do. If we get these players and they fit in as we expect them to, yeah, why not? I mean, I don't think we're going on all four competitions. I think that's a pipe dream. I think we could, in his mind, Arteta will obviously concentrate on the big two and use the other two, like the FA and League Cup, as bonuses if we do well. He hasn't sometimes shown the FA Cup respect that some of us would like. We know before we couldn't win the league, so we had to, and we weren't in the Champions League, so we should have taken the FA Cup very seriously, and perhaps we didn't. But I think he won't take it as seriously, the FA Cup or League Cup now, because if we sign these 3, 4, 5 players, it'll improve our squad no end, and we've got a better club and a better team and everything. But we're not at VV level. We're not at VV Man City level where they can just chop and change, have 3 different teams playing the same afternoon with the same level. We're not there yet. So I think we've got to choose our league. Obviously, is very, very important. And I suppose, and obviously the Champions League. Listen, it'd be the greatest thing ever for us to win the Champions League. It'd be unbelievable. But I still think it's probably more difficult with the way Man City are, though Man City are in the Champions League, to win the league title, because you've got so many good teams in the top flight now. There's very, very few weak teams. It's used to be the top 3. Now it's the top 15.
It's easily the top 8. Easily.
Yeah. I'm being facetious. So, I think it'd be an amazing feat to win the league, but it'd be a great feeling and in your heart to win the Champions League. And he's got to go for those 2 all out. And I think our squad, if we get these players in that we've spoken about tonight, will give us the chance to compete in a big way on those 2 fronts.
All right. Jerome, do you think if we get these players in, and as your dad says, they hit the ground running, we could do what we did this season, maybe even go further and try and challenge for some of the cups?
Yeah, I think I said it before, like even if we did absolutely nothing this transfer window, like we've still got a very good team. Obviously, we'd need to bulk up the squad a bit, but we got a chance. I think the difference now is that like a couple of seasons ago in the FA Cup, we started Charlie Coutinho in one of the games. Now we'll probably start Jorginho in one of those games. So
good point.
That's the difference in terms of the quality that you'll be playing. So I think we'll see that in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup this year, is that the teams will be a lot stronger this season than previous seasons.
All right. That is all we have time for. The comment section has been absolutely on fire tonight. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your comments in there. Sure, I couldn't get through them all. I got through as many as I could, which kind of tied in with what we was talking about and didn't swing us too far away. Thank you to the panel. You've been excellent tonight. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Melvin. And thank you, Jerome.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks very much. Thanks for inviting me off again. Thank you.
Of course, anytime. If you are watching now, make sure you press that like and subscribe. I'm expecting to see at least 30 likes, people. I'm seeing 30 people watching now. I want to see 30 likes. And if there's new people watching, please press that subscribe button and make sure you join us next week. This is the one place you're going to get all the transfer news, all the best opinions on those transfer news, and anything Arsenal. All right. Thank you for joining us, people. Peace out. Stay safe and wash your hands.